Saujanya Media presents Info Talk, a mega talk show.
दर्शकबिन भर्खरै अस्ट्रेलियन दूतावासले अस्ट्रेलियन अलुम्नाई अवार्ड्स आयोजना गरेको छ। त्यसमा धेरै नेपालीहरू सम्मानित भएका छन्। अस्ट्रेलियाका विभिन्न विश्वविद्यालयमा अध्ययन गरी फर्केर नेपालमा विभिन्न क्षेत्रमा विशेष योगदान पुर्याएका त्यस्ता प्रतिष्ठित नेपालीहरूलाई अस्ट्रेलियाले सम्मान गरेको छ। यसै सन्दर्भमा हामीले कुराकानी यहाँहरूलाई प्रस्तुत गर्दैछौँ र कुराकानीका लागि अस्ट्रेलियन हाई कमिसन न्यू दिल्लीबाट निकोला र त्यसैगरी नेपाल स्थित अस्ट्रेलियन राजदूतावासबाट ग्लेन व्हाइट अस्ट्रेलियन राजदूतसँगको संक्षिप्त कुराकानी हामी यहाँहरूलाई प्रस्तुत गर्छौँ। सर्वप्रथम प्रस्तुत गर्दैछौँ निकोलासँग गरिएको कुराकानीको यो सम्पादित अंश।
Info Talk, a mega talk show.
You are welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's great to be back.
Nicola, what is your purpose of visit to Nepal?
So we come here for a variety of reasons. One of the main reasons is to have the Alumni Awards, which are taking place this evening. And already we're starting to feel the atmosphere building here. We have around 300 people coming over this evening to celebrate the achievements of Australian alumni. So Nepalese people who have gone to Australia, studied, returned, and made a great contribution back here into Nepal.
How do you see the success of Australian alumni in Nepal?
It's fabulous. I mean, one of the exciting things about the students who go to Australia is that more than 50% of them go and do management related courses. So when they come back and they bring that knowledge and experience as well as the entrepreneurship that goes with it, it's great to see that that then can be applied in a whole range of different sectors here in Nepal.
Now Australia has become #1 choice for abroad studies for Nepalese students. What are the attractions in Australia?
Well, I mean, I think there's a number of attractions. One of them is the diverse range of courses that are available in Australia. And as you would have seen through some of your television shows, there's a range and a focus on careers of the future. So obviously the traditional management courses, IT and accounting, but also things like geospatial engineering, animation, digitech and so on. And I think that excites a lot of young people.
Okay.
At the same time, if I may, there's also the opportunity for people to work part-time when they're over in Australia. And I think that's very important for Nepalese students when they're really looking at how they can contribute to the overall cost of their education. Plus, of course, the lifestyle and the security and the number of Nepalese who are already in Australia all adds to the value proposition.
How has Australian graduates been helping to contribute in trade and investment aspect?
Well, they of course make a huge difference because when we know one another's economy and business better, then it's much easier for us to find the meeting points. So last night while we were here, we had a big event for the Nepalese Australia Chamber of Commerce, and many of the Australian alumni who come back here will then join that Chamber of Commerce and bring with them the experiences that they've had in Australia and be able to identify opportunities. It might be for trade, for import and export, for local manufacturing and production, but also for service industries like tourism and hospitality as well.
Any suggestions to Nepalese viewers, especially those who are planning to go to Australia for further study?
We think there are a few tips that we would certainly like to pass on to the students. So one is look at the Study in Australia website. There's a huge wealth of information there that will allow you to pick the course that you're interested in doing and the institution where you want to study. My second tip would be don't just look at Sydney and Melbourne. They're fantastic locations, don't get me wrong, but there's some wonderful regional locations as well that will offer not only a great study experience, but also the opportunity to really build on that with some good work experience during the school breaks and also during the part-time work opportunities and internships and so on as well. So that's certainly something to think about. In terms of administration, get ready early. So there is a process that needs to be followed in terms of paperwork and visas and so on. So try not to leave that to the last minute because then it gets quite stressful. There are a huge amount of support networks in Australia for students. So make use of those. Most of the universities have a great kind of student office. Often a lot of the Nepalese students will be part of that and be able to provide a lot of first-hand guidance and tips and advice on where to shop and where to eat and how to join in the various activities that exist there.
Thank you, Nicola. Thank you so much for your time and valuable information to my viewers.
Thank you.
Info Talk, a mega talk show.
Now I'm presenting you a short conversation with Glenn White, Australian ambassador to Nepal. You are welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's my pleasure too. Thanks very much for inviting me.
Australian Embassy does organize Alumni Excellence Awards ceremony every year. What is the concept of the ceremony?
Well, the Australian Nepal alumni is basically a group of people that have been to Australia to undergo training at higher university and institutions. The idea is that as an alumni group, as a formed alumni, it's nice to be able to recognise certain members of those alumni as having done particularly good work back here in Nepal. So it's all about the work they've done in Nepal, not in Australia. So they come back here and engage in their professional life and also outside activities, but we like to recognise them as such and among their peers offer them an award for the sort of things they've done.
Excellency, how does it help to the Australian alumni in terms of showcasing their success stories?
Well, I think if you can demonstrate that people are doing great things here in Nepal, and that's how you do it, you have to publicise it as much as anything within the peer group that they're with, just to encourage people, to give them a model, a symbol that they can work to, and clearly through your sort of media, it's also an opportunity for us to demonstrate that the Australian alumni and Australian education is actually doing great things for Nepal.
Now, Australia has become #1 choice for abroad studies for Nepalese students. How does Embassy work with the alumni for the development of Nepal?
Well, I have to say that the first challenge, if you like, is to attract people back to Nepal.
Exactly.
It's no point giving someone an award for staying in Australia. So we are encouraging people to come back to Nepal and contribute to your society, not ours, but your society, in all sorts of different ways. So these awards help that process. It's also worthwhile noting that I think there's 15,000 Nepalese currently studying in Australia. Nepalese form the 8th biggest cadre in Australia. That's a very big number for such a small country.
Exactly.
So it's also important that as many of those people as possible come back. Anything we can do to encourage them to come back and contribute to Nepal society is a great thing to do. The award system through this alumni is a mechanism for doing that. And, you know, it's I'd like to see most people come back to work in Nepal. It's up to themselves, of course, but those that do come back are clearly the committed groups that want to contribute to Nepal and its economic future.
How do you opine about Australian Alumni Association and their activities for the society?
Well, I think a good case in point is the earthquakes of last year. This is a professional cadre of people with the highest skills anywhere available in the world. I think they've done a great deal of activity and work for Nepal after the earthquake and the aftermath, not just in policy terms but also practical terms. Whether they're engineers or social workers or accountants, the fact is that they've given Nepal an extra bit of strength to and robust nature to actually respond to those shocks and challenges that the earthquakes have provided. So I think as a group, as a cadre, they're an excellent resource for Nepal, and the fact that they're actually here rather than anywhere else demonstrates they're also committed to Nepal. So it's the best of both worlds for Nepal.
Any suggestions to Nepalese viewers, especially those who are planning to go to Australia for further study?
Basically, it's the same message I always give, that people thinking about studying overseas, whether that's Australia or some other country, really do need to do their research.
Yes.
The first thing they need to look at is, does the course suit them? Does the economic arrangement suit them? And does the lifestyle suit them? In my mind, Australia clearly fits most of those bills fairly well. So, you know, you'd be forgiving me if I say Australia's the best country to go to, because I think it has some advantages that other countries don't. But it is up to each individual to make their own research, to make sure that the course they want to follow is the one they want to do, and in fact the institution is the one they wish to do it at. Apart from that, I think just be aware that people will be a long way away from home. They have to be able to cope with that tyranny of distance, as it were. I guess the problems of homesickness do happen occasionally, but in this day and age where you've got Skype and phone calls and all that sort of stuff, it's not as bad as it used to be. So I think research is the main thing.
Thank you so much, Excellency, for your valuable time and information. Thank you so much.
Pleasure to talk to you too.
Info Talk, a mega talk show.